Hi folks, RSBN founder and CEO Joe Steele's here. Did you know there is nearly $1 trillion of infrastructure and pandemic funds yet to be spent? That's right, there's a massive amount of money that the lame duck administration is pushing hard to spend in their last few months. If the president is able to push these funds out, we could see another prolonged inflation surge, just like during COVID. And I'm sure you remember the terrible effects that high prices had on most Americans. But there's hope. A surge in prices can be beaten. A gold IRA from Birch Gold Group is the ultimate inflation hedge for your savings in uncertain times. To see how to protect your IRA or 401k, get your free info kit on gold by texting the word Trump to 989898. Birch Gold makes it seamless to roll over your retirement account while preserving your tax advantage status. Don't wait for the president's spending spree to tank the dollar further. Protect your financial future now. Text Trump to the number 989898 for your free info kit from Birch Gold.
Hello, and thanks for joining us for this RSBN Economic Report. I'm Matthew Alvarez, and joining us is Phillip Patrick of the Birch Gold Group. Phillip, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Matthew.
Definitely. All right. So we know it's Thanksgiving week. We know that the president, he pardons a turkey. As Americans sit down for Thanksgiving, though, the dinner, the groceries are more expensive than ever. So if we could pardon one culprit that contributed to the most to inflation this year, would it be massive government spending, greedy corporations, or the Federal Reserve?
That's a good question. Look, I think greedy corporations are obviously the current administration's favorite scapegoat for higher prices, but I think it's because they don't understand how prices work, right? Corporations can't just charge as much as they want because of competition. Buyers will just seek out lower prices. The Federal Reserve, you and I have spoken, they've certainly made some missteps over the last year, but they've now managed to keep interest rates reasonable, and they've been trying to reverse a lot of their pre-pandemic era money supply policy. So that leaves us, of course, with government spending. Biden's going to leave office having added $7.5 trillion to the national debt. That's as much as Obama did in half the amount of time. It took Obama 8 years to spend less than that. Now, since deficit spending is directly inflationary, pretty obvious to me that the federal government needs our pardon the most this year.
All right. Well, then, speaking of pardons, we know about the energy prices from, transportation, food costs, all over the map. So should we pardon the oil companies or the families for excessive demand, or is it government policy behind these rising energy bills?
It's a good question. Rising energy prices are a complex issue. It's hard to ignore the role, I think, of government policy, regulatory restrictions, reduced domestic energy production, and the push for green initiatives have created short-term supply issues that drive prices up. That said, it's not just policy. Global demand has rebounded post-pandemic, and geopolitical tensions like conflicts in the Middle East and the Red Sea have further strained supply. As you and I know, we can't blame families here for excessive demand. They're just trying to keep their homes warm and their cars running. But the real concern for me is these rising costs, they spill over into other areas of the economy. Higher energy bills means higher transportation costs, which means higher prices for everything that we buy. So overall, I believe government policies need our pardon much more than any of the other factors.
And then sticking to that point, the national debt, unfortunately, continues to soar. Obviously, it's been in the trillions, but it continues on, crossing another record high. So can we pardon Congress for their inability to spend within their means? Or what about future generations? Will they be able to pardon them? Or
listen, another good question. Debt has spiraled out of control. As of November 21st, the national debt broke 36 trillion for the first time ever. Financing costs on that alone are over $1 trillion a year. So even if Congress worked to balance the budget today, we're looking at another $1 trillion a year. So to answer the question, the Constitution gives Congress the powers of the purse, right? Congress approves federal spending and it votes on budgets. And we've seen them over and over again just suspend the debt ceiling, pass 4,000-page omnibus bills without even reading them, and then bitterly complain about waste. So we cannot pardon Congress for putting us in this situation. Deficit spending and the national debt are highly inflationary, and you and I are paying the price today.
Geez, I mean, Sounds like a huge mess out there, including all of just the costs of everything. Glad Maganomics will be reinstalled, but still, you have to have a backup plan as well, I think, through all this. But the final question, kind of a big one for you. Can we pardon inflation for robbing our retirement savings of $2.5 trillion in purchasing power over the last 3 years?
Listen, I'm feeling forgiving this Thanksgiving, but on this one, no, right? We cannot. Saving for the future is challenging enough, right? When the cost of living has risen 20% in 3.5 years, it becomes even harder. Now, when you have no idea how much higher prices will be in 10 or 20 years down the line, it becomes nearly impossible to start planning for retirement. So listen, Trump is inheriting a big mess. And, we need him, right? Because we need to start spending in a more meaningful manner and start to generate some GDP. But he has a very tough job in front of him. So I'm thankful that we have this administration out and we have a new administration in, but they have a tough job on their hands. And I think everyone needs to think about how they can weather the storm heading into next year.
And could you talk to us about the peace of mind? I know there's a lot of numbers thrown around. People follow the economy. Some know everything you're talking about, some don't. But the point is, could you talk to the people about the peace of mind you get when you have something like gold or silver, precious metals, in this wild economic time we live in?
Listen, we've been talking about the cost of living increasing, and that's what it does. Year on year on year, inflation erodes the buying power of our money. We're in a position now where we're running huge deficits, and this is where precious metals come in. They're about preserving buying power. Look at gold. You could go back thousands of years and see that it back then bought 400 loaves of bread, and today it does the same thing. So gold holds on to its buying power. Right, it's designed to make sure that the money we have for retirement today will do what it does today in 10 or 20 or 30 years down the line. That's what you get with precious metals, and if that's not peace of mind, I don't know what is.
So after someone texts Trump to 989898, they get a free info kit on gold, silver, and precious metals. So then from there, how many steps does it take to get to where you need to be? Like if someone has the extra funds and they want to do this as a backup plan, what's the time length on everything?
Oh, it's really quick. Look, once a customer has read the information, they think this is something I want to do. The next step is to talk to somebody like myself at Birch. We're there to answer questions. But the second that customer says, this is what I want to do, at that point, we do the heavy lifting, whether it's filling out IRA rollover paperwork for the customer based on their instructions, sending it to them just to check over and sign. But we'll see the process through from start to finish. So it's as easy as texting Trump to 989898. That'll get them access to the information. And then from there, they'll have somebody like me who's there to hold their hand and walk them through the process step by step by step.
Awesome. Phillip Patrick with Birch Gold Group. Sir, thank you so much for joining us for this RSBN Economic Report.
Hi folks, RSBN founder and CEO Joe Steele here. Did you know there is nearly $1 trillion of infrastructure and pandemic funds yet to be spent? That's right, there's a massive amount of money that the lame duck administration is pushing hard to spend in their last few months. If the president is able to push these funds out, we could see another prolonged inflation surge, just like during COVID. And I'm sure you remember the terrible effects that high prices had on most Americans. But there's hope. A surge in prices can be beaten. A gold IRA from Birch Gold Group is the ultimate inflation hedge for your savings in uncertain times. To see how to protect your IRA or 401k, get your free info kit on gold by texting the word Trump to 989898. Birch Gold makes it seamless to roll over your retirement account while preserving your tax advantage status. Don't wait for the president's spending spree to tank the dollar further. Protect your financial future now. Text Trump to the number 989898 for your free info kit from Birch Gold.